This is my podcast, This Life Story. I started this podcast because I got diagnosed with an ependymoma, which is a rare cancerous tumor found inside the spinal cord. It actually split my spinal cord in two and left me, I had surgery, had it fully removed, and it left me patchwork quilt of feelings from the chest down. Some areas I can feel everything, some areas is pins and needles, some areas it's nothing, like from my elbows to my fingertips. Can't feel a thing. So basically, what I want to do was talk to other people with disabilities or chronic illnesses or injuries that have lasting effects and talk with them and see what their daily lives are like, what their challenges are, how they deal with them, what they found helps and helps them overcome their deficiencies or limitations. Nobody on the show will be dispensing medical advice. None of us are doctors. At least there's no doctors scheduled to appear on the podcast anyways. I will readdress it if that happens. I just don't see it happening. What I'm hoping for is maybe somebody just got diagnosed with something that a guest has, and they can hear about their journey and maybe get an idea what they might be looking at, and there might be possible solutions. They might have great advice on how to approach a situation. Maybe you'll hear something informational like that. Maybe you'll hear something inspirational or motivational, or is there a difference? And I want these videos to be seen by the people that need to see them. The only way that's going to happen is if we rock that YouTube algorithm. YouTube looks at certain things to decide whether they're going to promote the video or not. And the two major ways is hitting the like button on every video and subscribing to the channel. That shows them people like the content and they want to see the content. So let's work together to get this out to as many people as possible so we can help as many people as possible. This first episode is going to be my interview. Now, I'm not vain. Well, I am vain. I'm just not vain enough to ask myself questions and then answer them. So I've invited a good friend of mine, been there for me throughout all this, known him for several years. He used to be my boss. So he has agreed very kindly to ask me the questions, and I've done my best not to read them or think about them because I want it to be a genuine response. So without further ado, take it away.
Tony, I really do appreciate it. It's an honor to be asked by you for this. I know it's a sensitive and deeply personal experience that you're going through, and it's very brave for you to be sharing the experience. And having known you for quite a while and watching you struggle with this disease, I mean, it was heart-wrenching for myself as well, I can't even imagine the kinds of challenges that you went through. I know you've shared some with me, but not everything, not a lot of what goes on behind the scenes, which I think is incredibly brave, because I think you're going to start peeling the onion back and sharing with your listener some of the experiences that you've gone through. So thank you for letting me be a part of this journey that you're embarking on. So let's just start by take us back when you first noticed the symptoms, and what was that like for you, and did you know something was happening? How did that start, or how did it take place?
That's actually very difficult to answer with when you have an ependymoma, because especially where mine was located, mine was from C3 to T1, and in that area of the spinal cord, that's where the nerves disperse out to the rest of your body and pretty much every part of your body. So it can affect everything from what your skin feels. Do you feel being touched? Do you feel hot or cold, water or temperature? So a lot of the A lot of the things that should have been warning signs, I had no clue to look for. And a lot of it is me going back in time post surgery and going, well, I got this problem now. And I remember several years back, I had a problem with that same part of my body and the same function. And, that was probably caused by this. So, first symptom I actually knew and realized was, and I believe I came to work and talked to you about this, I was doing yard work and I was trimming the flower bed and the trimmer just dropped out of my hand. And I was like, what the heck? So I go and I pick up the handle again. I go to trim some more and I get another 60 seconds worth of it done and it drops out of my hand again. And then the weakness in my left hand, the grip strength was just gradually kept getting worse and worse. And then I started getting pain in my neck and I was calling you. I can't come into work. I didn't get any sleep last night because my neck is killing me. Finally, I had to yell at my doctor, tell her to do something for me. She sent me to a neurosurgeon. They found the tumor and the rest is history. But it's
So basically, when you were working, like a loss of sensation in your hands, or was it just that you just completely lost grip? And was it your hands and your neck the only place that you noticed it?
yeah, pretty much that's the only place I noticed it. I would tell my doctor certain things I was feeling or whatever. The only thing she ever did till I yelled at her was send me for physical therapy, which didn't help since it was a nerve issue. But yeah, I just realized there was something that happened when I was 10 years old that might be related to this. Because I asked the doctor, how long have I had it? He said, there's no way we could know. It could have been growing since you were a baby. And it could have been, but when the thing dropped out of my hands, that was 5 years before surgery.
So then, how did you receive the diagnosis? What went through your mind at that moment?
Well, and that's the thing. I didn't really receive the diagnosis so much as I read my own MRI results and saw that the guy thought it was an ependymoma. Then I looked up ependymoma and found out it was a cancerous tumor, really rare. It is super rare too. But where was I going? I'm going to have to cut this out.
We were talking about what your initial response was when you got your diagnosis, and your doctor was telling you and saying that he thought maybe it was you could have had it at a very young age.
Yeah, so I mean, I read my own diagnosis, saw the ependymoma, looked it up. Um, and the fact that it was cancer didn't scare me, ironically. Because from what I read, if it's taken care of during surgery, it's almost like a one-off cancer. So I didn't, that part didn't scare me. What scared me was the surgery could have resulted in me being paralyzed from the shoulders down, a quadriplegic. So that scared me. But I knew it wasn't going to kill me. I mean, if I left tumor in, eventually that would have killed me. But as long as I had it taken out, I wasn't going to die. The surgery itself wasn't going to kill me. The results of the surgery wasn't going to be death. So I wasn't scared. Wasn't scared of death or anything. I was scared of losing
Yeah,
my
I was
function.
going to ask you if one of your first reactions was, "Oh my gosh, the C word." Like a lot of other people hear the C word, and then immediately a death sentence pops up into their head, and like there's no hope. And I was just kind of curious as to how you received that.
Yeah, it was pretty easy considering it can be a one-off.
Sure. So leading up to surgery, what did you find as some of your biggest challenges or concerns or worries, or what did you do to prepare for it?
Well, the worry exclusively was becoming a paraplegic.
That's
I
something the
couldn't really.
doctor, did they say that's a possibility? I guess
What?
what did the doctors tell you as what are some of your possible results might be as at post surgery?
Well, the expected result from the guy who did the surgery was that I'd be back to where I was before surgery within 3 to 6 months. He used an example of a previous patient that he operated on for an ependymoma, and after 3 to 6 months, her only deficiency was, I think, either she had neuropathy in the bottom of her feet or she couldn't feel anything on the bottom of her feet. So that affected her ability to drive, but that was her only deficiency. But he said, you will come out of it with a deficiency. The funny thing is right after surgery, I mean, immediately after surgery, they woke me up and the doctor had me move my fingers and toes and, everything worked. It was perfect, just like before surgery. And he said, okay, we're going to put you to sleep. And when you wake up, everything's going to be gone. He goes, that's because the area around the surgical site is going to swell up. It's going to compress your spinal cord, and you'll lose a lot of your function. He said, but after the swelling goes down, typically 2 weeks, the function will come back. Well, I got the first part right. I woke up and I wasn't able to do anything. The second part he got wrong because I never got anything back.
Wow. So you had mentioned the sensation in your feet with the other woman that had it, and the ability to drive or not drive. Are you now, you don't have sensation in your feet as well, and you are not able to drive at this time? Is that true, or where are you currently at?
No, no, no. I can drive. I don't out of an abundance of caution because my shoulders. I can get my shoulders will reach and I get my hand on top of the steering wheel and everything, but they tire out quickly. So if need be, yeah, I could drive to up to the hospital. It's right up the street. My shoulders won't tire in that amount of time, but it's also something where I can't go for a joyride or just, hey, I want to get out of the house, so I'm just going to go drive around for a little bit. I mean, I could do it, but then I don't. I wouldn't. I
Gotcha.
need to strengthen them first.
Understood. So what post-surgery, what was the recovery process like, and what was the state of your physical body, and then how were you, what was taking place from internally, like from an emotional perspective?
Well, it took the first half of that question in a physical way, and the second half sounded like mental.
Well, there's a difference between a mental and just an emotional. What were some of the senses? I mean, we're human beings. We all handle adversity differently, and arguably emotions, right? That's some part of our reaction. So, I mean, there's definitely a physical. You were kind of touching on it already, a little bit of physical response. But what were some of the challenges emotionally for you?
Emotionally, one of the biggest challenges was the medication I was on. It flat out made me suicidal. I was in a deep depression, suicidal, angry, and part of that did have to do with the surgery and the circumstances it left me in. You're not going to be happy if you used to be able to drive and all of a sudden it's smarter if you don't. You're not going to be happy if you're used to working 50, 60 hours a week and then you can't even work a computer anymore. So, and it is the real funny thing about the mental part is I thought I had to be grateful about everything all the time. And if I wasn't, then I was a crap human being who wasn't thankful for the things in their lives. And it wasn't until I talked to a psychologist that, she looked at me and she's like, what? No, why wouldn't you be angry about this happening
Yeah.
to you? But it's from the physical side. I mean, I went from a week after surgery. I was in the hospital for a week after surgery, and then they sent me to inpatient rehab. I was in there for 3 weeks. I had to learn everything. I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to brush my teeth again. I had to learn to shave my face again. It was that part actually didn't affect me mentally, but it was like, wow, whatever this surgery was, it hit the reset button on my body because it's got to learn it all over again.
Yeah, I totally, I could, when you have to start from scratch and, relearn how to do the stuff that, you're just, this is not to counter what you're saying, but, we take for granted what we can do, right? Like we can
Right.
walk, we can talk, we move our hands, we take that for granted. And then all of a sudden it's stripped away. We got to learn it all over again. And it's just got, an element of frustration, it's got and I get it, right? Adversity we don't have to take it like nothing's ever happened, and I'm so happy that this has happened.
Right.
So yeah, I get it. What were some of the was there any unexpected moments or setbacks or even some of your small victories during your recovery? Well, as you're going through the recovery process, was there unexpected moments that you had, like things that you weren't expecting to happen that happened or didn't happen, the reverse of that? And then did you experience, what were some of the setbacks that you had? And I know it's a lot in the question, and then there, what are some of your, victories, whether they're small or whether you felt like they were monumental during your recovery process?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I had any monumental progressions.
Did you have setbacks?
No, I never really had setbacks either. It's just I started from zero and then I would do my exercises or whatever, and whatever I could get to, whatever level, then that was it. They made sure not to set expectations too high.
So then would you consider those the small victories then?
Yeah, was some of the unexpected things I didn't see coming when I was in inpatient rehab was they had a little mock main street with a car parked on it. And my physical therapist, told me to get in the car. So I did what I always did, and I did what everybody does. And it was a car, not a truck. So I had to step down, not step up. So I did what we all did. I put my hand on the roof of the car. I stuck my left leg in because I'm going in the passenger side. So hand on the roof of the car, step in with my left leg, then slide underneath and plop my butt in the sink. And then the physical therapist is like, okay, well, I better never see you do that again. She's like, you don't get in cars like that anymore. She goes, you open the door, you sit your butt on the seat, then you swing your legs in. So I had to relearn how to get in the car. I have to use a shower seat when I take a shower. I've fallen in the shower now, and that's with that sticky stuff on the bottom of the floor. So my wife still has to help me take a shower, get dressed, help me with some of the food stuffs. I can't open certain packages.
So that was probably maybe some of the unexpected things, or what you didn't know, what was on the post side of the surgery. You probably didn't really know that you were going to be more reliant on loved ones or a support system.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it never even crossed my mind before surgery that I thought if I didn't come out of it a quadriplegic, then I'm not going to need any help. But clearly wasn't the case.
Yeah, so I guess from that perspective, and just looking at your journey, you have had to cope with the mental side and the emotional side. So how did you cope with the mental and the emotional toll that the whole healing process or recovery process that you were going through? How did you cope with all that?
I like what my wife said. I did not handle it well at all, but I handled it better than she ever would have. I did not handle it well at all. And the depression and the suicidal thoughts. So the way I got over it was I switched medications.
Okay. So was
And
that
once
something that you saw? Was there an immediate difference in switching your medication?
well, that's the thing. My wife saw an immediate difference. I didn't feel in my mind a difference for a year and a half.
Gotcha.
And I mean, I felt immediate relief. I knew I was no longer suicidal, but I was still depressed. And so I don't know if time off the medication or just more time dealing with what I have to deal with now has made it better, but definitely the medication.
So you mentioned Erica was helping you take a shower and whatnot. So what other roles did Erica or other family members or friends or your medical team? What role did they play in part of this recovery journey that you're on, or even still to this
Uh,
and even recently?
yeah, no, it's still to this day, every bit of help I've needed before, I still need, like I've mentioned, I don't drive. I can drive, I don't drive. So I still need rides to doctor's appointments and I need help.
Are you able to, can you write? How is it when you're trying to eat, dinner? Are those the types of things that you need help with? And do you have friends that come in and help as well, or a medical team that comes in, or is it strictly your wife?
Oh, it's strictly my wife. No, I can't write anymore. I can sign my name. I made sure I could do that. I forgot what the question was.
Oh, we were just talking about the role and the support of your family and your friends and or medical team.
Yeah, and as far as the medical team, I don't, get any support from any kind of medical personnel at all. And I think there's something wrong with that. Like the insurance I was on when I first had surgery, that insurance allows, I think, something like 20 physical therapy visits a year. And, my wife, I've since lost that insurance. My wife got different insurance. That one has 60 visits a year, which is, much better. But why in the heck, especially with somebody that has a spinal cord injury, but, somebody that went through what I went through, I don't understand. I need constant physical therapy and occupational therapy. I don't understand why that's not baked into the medical side of my recovery. Something that we got to work on.
So you're still seeking out some medical resources that can subsidize whatever it is that you're needing in this process.
No, actually, I'm not looking for some kind of charity to subsidize it, but I
Well,
do.
I didn't necessarily mean, charity monetarily, just like a medical resource, something that will play a little bit deeper role in what you need for your recovery. But let's kind of invest. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into the support uh, that you talked about Erica, your wife. She does a lot, and we asked about family and friends. You know, it sounds like Erica is bearing most of the burden, and I guess is there an out? Is there somebody that can take her place to give her a break? Is there other family or friends? How does that?
No, nothing. She's not getting any help anytime soon. My son does still live with us and he helps me once in a while. Usually I just, you know, when my wife's not at work, we're usually sitting right next to each other, so it's easier,
Gotcha.
I guess,
So were there any
for both of
particular
us, I guess.
resources like books or groups? Is there any like uh, I don't know, Facebook groups or other group that you can actually go to? Kind of like the Alcohol is Anonymous, if I said that right. Groups or therapies that have helped you.
And that's the thing. Ependymoma is so rare that I found exactly one support group on Facebook. And it's funny because I want to quit Facebook, but I can't because that's where the support group is. So, yeah, the community's so small, there's exactly one group and I'm in it. So,
Well, what was your experience like joining the group or poking your nose in and chatting with people? What kind of response and conversations did you all have?
yeah, well, it's nice to see different people's experiences because everybody's is different. It's astonishing. And for me, it's not wholly unexpected when it comes to the spine. We all saw Superman spend the last years of his life in a wheelchair. Spines are tricky. One of the things I learned in that Facebook group that, well, really kind of broke my heart was that a lot of people that have ependymomas are kids. It's
Yeah, that
like
is sad.
it's like half of the demographic. But, so the people that have the ependymoma in the brain, I don't know how relevant that is to my situation, but I definitely pay attention when somebody posts about having one in the spine, in the neck, especially in the neck where mine was. And it's funny because, there was like one lady that just posted a week or two ago, and she was like, yeah, the guy found now, see, my ependymoma was from C3 to T1, and hers was like C5 to C7 or something. It was within my range. And she's like, yeah, talk to the doctor. He said it's, C5 to C7 or whatever, and it's inoperable, so we're going to do radiation. And me and this other guy commented, we're like, what? I had one bigger than yours in the same area, and it was totally removed via operation. You need a second opinion. And the other guy told her the same thing. And, so it can be helpful. And something like that is why I want to do something like this, not necessarily for me, but I'm gonna have a couple friends on that are going through some things, and maybe somebody in the audience can comment and give them a life hack they learned because they have it, or words of encouragement, or hey, try this, or but so that's why I want to do it. But I got propelled in that way from the ependymoma group.
That's awesome. So what you talked about the location of the tumor, and you're talking to some people in the group. What were some of the challenges that some of the other people have that had maybe had a more severe tumor, like up towards the brain, or even I guess in the brain?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know that it's necessarily more severe. I never looked into that, though I did see one lady post in there that her brother got diagnosed with an ependymoma in the brain, and um, he scheduled his surgery, but he passed away from it before the surgery.
Wow.
And that just got me thinking, I had to get the surgery. I mean, I just had to. It was going to kill me if I didn't. So deficiencies are what they are now, but I had no choice.
Gotcha. So how has your life perspective been, or how has your health changed since? Has your perspective and your health changed dramatically since the surgery?
The health, yeah, in not so good way. My perspective has changed, especially when it comes to work.
Are there any lingering effects or lifestyle changes that you've had to adjust to?
Yeah, God, almost all of them, to be honest with you. From the number of times I showered during the week to the type of clothes I can wear, jeans are hard for me to wear now because my hands suck and it's hard for me to button and unbutton. So I can wear jeans if I'm out with my wife and she can go into the bathroom with me. But I think we did that once. That didn't work out too well. So now I'm a sweatpants guy now.
A little dexterity with the fingers and trying to get the snap through the button through that hole. I have a problem with that myself sometimes.
God, I had a problem with it when my hands did work.
Exactly. What do you wish, having gone through what you've gone through and the journey that you've been on, and I mean, it's really part and parcel to what this podcast is really about. But what do you wish more people understood about brain or spinal tumors or rare conditions like ependymoma?
I don't think it's just a normal, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a normal spine injury. And you got to look at the person, for me personally, back before I got this, I had an understanding that anything with the spine or the back was extremely painful for the person. And also, you kind of felt like, are they telling the truth? Do they really have it? Is it really that big of a problem? But so I guess I would say, having been through it now, I would just ask other people if you ask somebody what's wrong, whether you ask them or they bring it up to you, and the answer is a spinal cord issue or a back issue of any kind. It's not going to hurt to take their word for it, believe they are in that pain, and, accommodate them if you can. I don't feel I need a lot of accommodation. I can't sit on any chair without a back on it anymore, but I went to a concert and it was standing room only, and there was a local TV station there, and I think my wife had mentioned to one of the people, because they were sitting and there was an extra chair, and she explained to him my problem and that I need to sit in a chair with the back on it, and they let me sit next to them while they were doing their radio station thing. And it was very kind and I appreciated it, and just needs to be more of that in the world. And I just ask, even if you just do it exclusively for spinal cord injuries or, stuff like that, just be kind.
Sure, absolutely. We could always use a little bit more of that, like you mentioned. Seems like the world we live in now.
Running a
It's
little short on it.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? I'd like to go. I want to dial the clock or our time back here just a little bit, and I wanted to revisit something from the beginning. And when we were talking about what the early symptoms were, and just out of curiosity, I know that we've worked together for a very long time, and you mentioned that you were struggling with certain things, but what was your experience like? You shared with us that when you were noticing the symptoms coming on, you were dropping stuff and you were losing sensation in your hand and you're just losing control in your hands. But when you were at work, what were the kinds of things that you were noticing at work? Like, hey, what? I think there really is something going on. Was there like a lack of concentration? Were you unable? Were there certain things that you're not able to do? Did you have to get up and move around because you're uncomfortable sitting? What was going on leading up to maybe even discovering that this was happening, and even after you discovered it, what were some of the things that you noticed while you were in the work environment?
There really wasn't much, and that has to partly do with the timing of everything. The only thing I noticed, I was in the data center and I was putting in a router or something into one of the slots, and I had trouble holding it up and screwing it in. It would just keep dropping. I couldn't do it, and there was nobody in the data center or even in that office building at the time to help me with it. I was really frustrated about that, but the way the timing worked on it all, when I found out I had the ependymoma so late that by the time I found out, I was immediately taken off work and my symptoms progressed even faster after that, to the point where before surgery, right now, one of the problems is I'm one of those I've fallen and can't get up people. If I fall, I literally can't get up because my arms are so weak, I can't push myself up. Forgot where I was going with that.
You're just sharing some of the symptoms that you were experiencing. We were asking about what
Okay,
it was
now I
like
remember.
at work, and then you were talking about, you were sharing with us that you didn't really sense per se something that was going on while you were at work, even though you knew that you were dealing with something at home, and then you were sharing with where some of the symptoms were more aggressive at when you actually had to quit work.
Right. So about the weekend before my surgery, you see, I had never had problems pushing myself up off the ground, getting up off the ground prior to surgery, except for my wife and I and our kids went to a concert, just a small concert, a decently known rock band, but they were uh, formed in St. Clair Shores, a city by us. And so we went there to see it. And my daughter was pregnant at the time. And I'm sitting on the curb listening to the band. And she's standing there, and I can tell she wants to sit down. So I take my hands, I put them on the curb and go to push myself up, and I can't.
Wow.
And that was the first, and it was just a matter of 2, 3 days before surgery. But yeah, that had crept up. I haven't been able to get rid of that. But really, the only thing that affected me at work in regards to the ependymoma was the pain at night and my inability to sleep and having to call off work. And it wasn't until I got sick of wasting vacation days on, not getting sleep. That's when I yelled at my doctor to do something.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know we were kind of dialing back a little bit, but that one's almost for me. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, Tony. So,
Yep.
like right now, I know we talked about the Facebook thing. Are there any advocacy groups that you're a part of in the community right now?
No, no, I'm not aware of any.
So, what would you tell someone who just received the same diagnosis you had?
Get
What
more,
advice would you have for them? Yeah, what advice would you?
get more than one opinion, even if, they tell you what you want to hear the first time. Get a second opinion. That's a must. And also, after surgery, if they give you an option between outpatient rehab and inpatient rehab, take the inpatient rehab every day and twice on Sunday. Hopefully, you won't be like me. Hopefully, you will get everything back. And if you're inpatient, you're going to get it back so much quicker. And plus, it was God. I look back and I think if I would have did that outpatient, that would have been really dangerous because I couldn't walk and get around really until I spent 3 weeks in inpatient rehab. So I don't know how I would have got to and from outpatient.
Well, that's some good advice, Tony. Is there any after now you're at where you're at today? Is there anything that you would go back and tell yourself at the beginning of the journey? Anything different you try to prepare yourself for, or what would you tell yourself?
Well, switch meds, and so you don't ever get suicidal, and prepare to be a quadriplegic. Just prepare yourself mentally for that. Then anything less than that is golden. It's a bonus.
So it does really sound like the medication, some of the medication that you were on did play a role in maybe how expedient the recovery that you did and the gains that you did have may have influenced it one way or another. So if you were able to switch your meds and have a little bit better life experience, such as it was, then the medication did definitely help you out.
Yeah, I mean, the medication did what it was supposed to. It took away the pain. Yeah, if I'd have been on the medication I'm on now for the pain, and it's not really a painkiller, it's more for neuropathy, so it affects the brain, not the individual pain site, and that's why I have problems following along in conversations nowadays. It has that effect. But both of them did. This one doesn't make me suicidal.
Well, that's good news. Tony, I can't begin to thank you enough for allowing me, you know, even on the inside to the extent that you have, being a friend, and I absolutely thank you for inviting me to be part of this next phase and journey of your life that you're on. And I do appreciate you sharing what's arguably some painful stuff that and the experience that you've gone through with this disease that you've had and have been struggling with. And I hope that people that are listening or watching this podcast or YouTube will get a little courage to step out and talk about it, their experience, because there is health and there's healing in being able to communicate with other people in groups and other people that are struggling with this, maybe the same things or some other things in their lives. So thank you so much for sharing your time, your insight, and your experience with us tonight.
Well, thank you for doing this for me. I couldn't imagine a better friend to ask me these questions. Certainly, there's not, you're in a select few that that have really been there for me, pre-surgery and post-surgery. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing this. And to everybody out there, I also have cirrhosis of the liver from NASH. And I have type 2 diabetes. So if you want to hear me talk about those two, I can do that as well. So that's it. That's my story. I will be talking to other people about their stories, and hopefully you can join me for that.
Thank you for this life, Tony.
Thank you.